Meine Damen und Herren, hier sind der Regisseur und Darsteller.
Maybe start at the side.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, do that.
Start right here, and then we'll walk around.
You can just right there, please.
Joseph, he's trying to
You can there, please. Look in here, please. Look in here, please.
Yeah, center.
This way. Look in here.
Perfect.
Joseph, just down here.
Joseph, show me. Joseph, your left foot, please. Joseph, left. Joseph, left. Joseph, down. Someone else. Okay, down on your left. Smile, please. Look in here. Okay, please. Look in here. Look up, please. Joseph, please. Joseph, please. Please, here. Please, here. In the middle, please. Second row. Please. You got it?
Where? Oh.
Joseph, please. Joseph, yeah. Joseph, come back here, please.
We were already.
Sorry. Joseph, one last one. You can ask, please. And down here, please. Up here, please. Joseph. That's right. Right. Okay, now. Beautiful. Beautiful. Joseph. Right. Straight ahead, Russian. Straight ahead. Up. Look at Joseph, please. Joseph, straight ahead. Big smile. Right here. And just down.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. That's a nice thing to say. And then just my name. All right.
Dankeschön. Können Sie sich bitte setzen, damit wir mit der Pressekonferenz beginnen können? Thank you very much. Could you please sit down so we can start the press conference? Thank you very much. Dankeschön. And please, during the press conference, don't use the flash. Bitte während der Pressekonferenz den Blitz auslassen. Dankeschön.
That's fancy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this press conference screening in Panorama on the 63rd International Film Festival in Berlin, Don John's Addiction. And have a welcome for the producer, Bram Bergman.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to have him here with his first feature film debut, produced, written and directed by Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Thank you.
Maybe, Joseph, before we start the questioning, can you give us a shortcut about the origins, the horizon of this story? What makes you from Don Juan to Don John? What gives you the idea to make this movie?
Sure. Well, I wanted to tell a story about love. And what I've noticed about love is that what's always getting in the way is how people objectify each other. That rather than connecting as unique individuals, we have a tendency to, judge each other and compare each other to these expectations that we've learned. And we learn these expectations from different places. We learn them from our family or from our friends or from our church or from the media. And that interests me in particular. I'm always really fascinated with the way that the media can impact our perspectives on things. And so I thought that a story about a relationship between a young man who watches too much pornography and a young woman who watches too many romantic Hollywood movies would be a really funny way to sort of explore those themes.
Okay, so question here on the left side.
First of all, I'm Magda Maksiuk from Film News, and I wanted to ask you two very general things. One is that you appear in many independent films or art house cinema, and on the other hand, as well in blockbuster films. I would like to know which genre is closer to your heart. And the other thing is that you attend many film festivals and film premieres of big budget films, and I would like to know if you see any differences in the audiences that attend those films. Thank you.
Sure. Well, you bring up the difference between independent cinema as opposed to bigger movies. And, it's an interesting thing what exactly that means. To me, what's the most important is not the budget of a movie or even where the money came from, whether it came from, Warner Brothers or whether it came from Voltage Pictures. Is less important. What's important to me is the intention of the filmmaker and sort of the spirit on set and what the movie's about and why we're all making the movie. For example, working on The Dark Knight Rises is it doesn't really get much bigger than that as far as productions go, but Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker is not just trying to make money. He's telling stories that he believes in and that are close to his heart. And you could also find examples of, filmmakers, I think, who are making movies on very low budgets and making indie movies that are just sort of trying to earn some sort of popularity or whatever, So that to me only reinforces the point that it's not so important the size of the movie, but who's making it and why they're making it. And, Don John is a movie that we made independently. It wasn't made with any studio, and it was made for a relatively low budget. But I wanted to make it for the same reasons that I wanted to make The Dark Knight Rises or Looper or Lincoln. Because I believe in the story, because I think it's a good movie, and because I love telling good stories through movies.
Okay, a question in the middle, please.
Yep. Alaudin Hamidi from Klankosawa Television. Why did you choose to take more humorous approach on this movie? And how do you feel? Do you feel much better as a Robin or Don John?
Sorry, I didn't understand. Take which approach?
More humor.
Oh, a humorous approach.
Yes, humorous approach.
Yeah, that's a great question. The themes of the movie, as far as, how media can impact our culture and, in particular, our love lives, that's sort of heady stuff and kind of heavy stuff. But I didn't want to make a heady or heavy movie. It's a movie. I could write an essay if I wanted to, you know, make it really heady. And I find that humor and comedy is oftentimes the best way to get at substantial themes and questions, but do so in a really entertaining and engaging way, something that everybody can connect with. For example, Dr. Strangelove is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's dealing with very serious issues, but it's hilarious. You know, or a more recent example you could cite Django Unchained. You know, Tarantino I think is brilliant at taking really serious issues of race and class and brutality and things like that, but making it this incredibly entertaining and often funny movie. So that's sort of the approach I was going for with Don Jon. I didn't want to make a heavy, realistic movie. I wanted to make something heightened and funny.
Your question here? Yes, please.
Yes, hello. I noticed at the beginning of your film it said a hit record production. So could you maybe tell about, so did people from your website, from the project, collaborate on that? And maybe you can also tell a bit more about how the project Hit Record is now going, and yeah.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I run what we call an open collaborative production company called Hit Record. But it's also just kind of a name, Hit Record, that I've had for myself and my work for years, even before we started the collaborative production company. So Hit Record Films is just means that it's a film that I made. Now, one day I do hope to make a full feature film with the open collaborative process that goes on in our production company and on our website. And if you guys don't know about it, you can check it out at hitrecord.org is the website. And I really think that the experience that I had directing Don Jon will be invaluable once we try to mount a production of a feature film with our sort of untraditional collaborative process. But I thought it was important that I do one in the traditional old-fashioned way before trying to do one in the kind of new collaborative way.
The question in the middle, could you please stand up? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Now, you have written and directed, and you star in this film about porn addiction. How passionately do you feel about this particular subject matter? Feel free to elaborate. And secondly, how difficult was it to persuade Scarlett Johansson and Julianne Moore to be a part of this?
Well, I feel very passionate, again, about the way that media can impact our perspectives and our culture and our expectations and our vocabularies. Pornography is one example, but there's actually lots of forms of media in this movie. There's Hollywood movies. There's, you know, a hamburger commercial. There's women's magazines. There's football. There's all sorts of media in the movie, and that is something that I think about constantly, and something that I do feel very strongly. I think that the movies that we watch and the television that we watch, the music that we listen to, the books that we read, these are important things. And whether we mean them to be important or not, they are. Even a movie that's intended to just be a piece of light entertainment has an impact on the people who watch it. And I think it's important for, you know, those of us who are making movies and media to take responsibility for that. And I also think it's important for everybody who's consuming the media to take responsibility for the media that they consume and recognize the fact that it's not an irrelevant, passive action deciding what media you choose. It's actually contributing to the cultural conversation. what movie you choose to watch, what show you choose to watch, what websites you choose to go to, what websites you post on. All of that is, I think it's, you know, we in the 20th century, we were sort of learned to consider media something that just goes one way. We sit on the couch and watch television, and they make the media, and we just have to watch. But that's not the case anymore. In the 21st century, what with the internet and all sorts of new technology, the media is becoming something that we all participate in. And that's a good thing. I think that that's an enormously healthy development that can be really helpful in so many ways. And it makes me hopeful thinking about the way the media is changing. And I want other people to also think about it. So that's, you know, part of why I made a movie about it.
The second part was Scarlett and Julianne.
Yes, she also asked about Scarlett and Julie. Well, they both really liked the script. You know, Scarlett was the actress that I always thought of as this character. From the beginning of writing the character, I always pictured her playing it. And I don't know what I would have done if she hadn't liked the script, but she really did like the script. And I think that the performance she gives is just phenomenal. She's so funny and so charming. And on the one hand, this you know, horribly selfish princess of a character, but on the other hand, I feel, you know, a lot of empathy for her. I feel it's a heartfelt performance, and I just think she knocked it out of the park. And Julianne Moore, I think, is, you know, a treasure. She's one of the greatest actors alive, and deeply, deeply honored that she liked the script and believed in me enough to do the role, and she did such a great job, and I think she's also so good in the movie.
Question here on the left side, please.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va?
Ça va très bien, merci, vous?
Oui, mais c'est Allemagne ici.
Oui, I know.
I don't speak any German.
I'm Martin Bilodeau from Le Devoir in Montreal. My question to you is, I was wondering we see your character very often going to church with his family, and I was wondering what, in your mind, what part religion plays in this sexual hypocrisy he's in.
Well, yeah, I wanted to demonstrate that this is a character that objectifies everything in his life, not just women, but his apartment, his car, his friends and family, his own body, and even his religion is something that he never really connects with it. He keeps an arm's distance with everything, and so I thought, you know, him going to church and having these confessionals where you never even see the priest, and you know, it's the same thing. It's a one-way street. There's not a two-way interaction. And in fact, by the end of the movie, when he tries to have more of a conversation and have a two-way interaction with the priest isn't receptive to it. And you know, so it's just another example of how things in his life are one way and how that's sort of trapping him into this rut.
But being Catholic made it easy for him, huh?
Well, you know, I was not raised Catholic. I was raised, I guess, you know, I wasn't really raised religious. Ancestrally, ancestrally, how do you say that? Ancestrally, I'm a Jew, but I wasn't raised particularly religious. I think that, in my observation, most organized religions, or all organized religions, have this in common, that some people really do connect with them and get a lot out of them. But a lot of people are just sort of going through the motions and doing it because they think they're supposed to. And I wouldn't judge anybody for whatever they want to do. If that makes them feel good, great. But I think it's worth thinking about. And that's why I wanted to make a movie that sort of asks those questions and makes some jokes about it.
Your question here on the right, please.
Yes. Isaac Teni from the Buenos Aires Herald. I fully agree about the impact of the media, as you pointed out, but I'm curious about how the media impacted you in writing this film on two grounds. One, the stereotypes of the family, the Italian stereotype family that you've seen in a lot of sitcoms and so on. The other one, Julia Moore played a porno actress already in Boogie Nights several years ago, and I wonder if both of them had an effect in your choosing her.
Well, no, the Boogie Nights connection, that's really just coincidental. It had nothing to do with it. Julie did tell me a story, though, about the first time that she read the script. She said that her agent gave her the script and said, "This is a movie about porn." And Julie said to herself, "Oh no, not another movie about porn." And then she told me that she was reading it on a plane next to her husband, Bart. And as she read it, soon enough, she looked up and turned to her husband and said, "This isn't about porn at all. This is a movie about intimacy and connection and media and culture, and wow, I think I might want to do this." And I remember when she told me that story because I almost cried. I was so happy that she really got it. She understood what I was trying to do. Let's see, and then you asked about the portrayal of the choice of making the character Italian American. You know, I wanted to make him a Don Juan. I thought to myself, if I'm going to get to this theme of objectification that I'm looking for, then this character, he has to be a ladies' man. He can't just be watching too much pornography because he can't find a partner. He has to be watching it out of choice. And he has to be a womanizer. He has to be, you know, taking home a different woman every weekend and then still watching pornography. So who's that? And that's when I thought, oh, well, Don Juan. What's a contemporary version of Don Juan? And the first thing I thought of was this guy, you know, this guy who's like, you know, got a gym body and shiny hair, and I just thought it was really funny. And I honestly didn't even think of him as Italian so much. You know, that guy, he's an American icon, like the cowboy, you know, he's the tough guy. And it goes back to, you know, Rocky or Saturday Night Fever, or even any number of, you know, old gangster movies, film noir movies. To me, you know, I never thought of him as necessarily, well, he has to be Italian. There's not really that much about Italy or Italian culture in it. It's more of just an American archetype.
But according to this question, do you choose Tony Danza because you maybe were as a child also fan of Who's the Boss, or was that some impact on you?
Well, you know, I worked with Tony Danza when I was 12 years old in a movie called Angels in the Outfield. And this was a big reunion for us. And I always loved him. We had a great time on that movie. And I mean, he just killed this movie. I'm so happy how great a performance he turned in and how well people are reacting to it. Everyone loves him, and it makes me so happy because he deserves it.
The question in the middle, in the back, please.
Hi there. Is it working? Yeah. Matthias Baer for Reuters Television. Just a light question regarding the two great actresses you won for your project. Don't get me wrong, it's great to have you here, but couldn't you convince at least one of them to come here?
Sorry.
Thanks.
Well, Scarlett's performing on Broadway tonight, so she can't. She's in a show, you know, 8 performances a week.
Okay, there's a question here in the L, please. Yes, it's you. Could you please stand up?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Hi, Scott Roxburgh from The Hollywood Reporter.
Hello.
I wondered if actually both of you could expand a bit on what you were saying about media and its reception. I'm particularly thinking of the filters that media puts in front of us for the stuff that we receive. I'm wondering with this film, it was well received in Sundance. It looks like it's going to be very well received here. Would you accept, or do you expect that you'll have to make cuts in order to get R rating in the U.S.?
Yes. We do expect that, and we're going to get to work on that as soon as I get home. But I don't have a problem with it, because I don't think it'll really change the movie, because you know, I think it's important that those images are in there, but exactly what the images are is really less important. What's more important is kind of the rhythm of it. It's a story about a guy who has a very set routine in his life, And so the repetition of it is, I think, important. But, you know, what precisely you see in those images is, I think, you know, it won't affect the movie for us to go in and change that.
Okay. Your question, please. Yeah, it's you.
Oh, that's me, okay. Hi, Joseph. First of all, thank you very much for the film. It was fantastic. My name is Tatiana. I'm representing the biggest Russian movie website. So I'm from the media as well. So, and thank you very much for the showing Robin and Black Widow getting it off. It was very nice. And second, I actually thought about the movie Shame while watching your film. It was pretty serious, pretty intense, but pretty much the same thing. Or did you see the Shame? And
I actually haven't seen it. You know, it's funny, and I should. I should because I'm a really big fan of Michael Fassbender. I think he's a really phenomenal actor, but I haven't seen that movie.
Okay, then I have to ask you, who were your inspirations as a directors for this film? Exactly. Thanks.
Well, you know, we talked about The Graduate and Mike Nichols movies, or Shampoo and other Hal Ashby movies. I mentioned Tarantino earlier, the Coen brothers. These are all movies with a bit of a, they tend to make movies with a heightened tone and a sense of humor that makes me laugh, even though it's not, you know, the most obvious comedy. And usually in that comedy is getting at something, getting at some kind of point. But I would say probably the biggest influences on me as far as filmmakers were the filmmakers that I've been fortunate enough to work with. Because that's how I learned how to do it, was watching other people do it over and over again on all sorts of different sets. I told Christopher Nolan I was going to direct a movie, and he was so supportive and encouraging. And I can't tell you how much that meant to me. Just to have him subtly say, like, yeah, I think you could do that, meant the world to me. And he would you know, relay to me little things that he had learned, mostly of a fairly technical nature. Because the funny thing about directing a movie is, while on the one hand it is like a beautiful romantic, you know, enterprise where you're taking something out of your head and making it real, there's also a lot of kind of mundane and technical and logistical things to get through, and that stuff is very important to the process. And Chris is excellent at that stuff, and so he would just relay to me little bits of advice about things like that. Another guy is Rian Johnson, who wrote and directed Looper and Brick, that Ram also produced those movies. And besides introducing me to Ram, which was probably the most important thing that Ryan did for this movie, Ryan was the first guy I sent the script to. When I very first had my first finished draft of it, I sent it to Ryan as I asked him to read it first. And when he told me that, hey, I think you have something here, I think this is going to be good, that really set me on a path of like, okay, I wasn't just kidding myself, I'm going to follow through on this, we're going to make a movie. And that's, you know, and he was with me throughout the process. I would talk with Ryan. He saw several cuts of the movie during the editing process and would give me really valuable feedback. And you know, him along with a bunch of other filmmakers that I've worked with, Spencer Susser, John Levine. I'm gonna fail to think of other names right now, but yeah, I'd say that the filmmakers that I've worked with have been the biggest influence.
Ram, I would like you to add something to that, because you work. No, you don't want
it? Let him talk. It's much more interesting to listen to him.
Okay, maybe it's just a shortcut. Just how you experienced him as a first-time director.
First of all, he's not a first-time director. He's made many short films, okay, and he's been on a movie set for 20 years, 25 years. So he's probably more experienced than most filmmakers when they go on the set for the first time or second time. So he's natural. Plus, he can control everything because he's in every scene in the movie. So he controls it. You know, he's not a first-time director.
Okay, good.
I found that a lot more interesting than me talking, actually.
Okay, you in front, please. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Josephine Dreves.
Hello.
I have a question to Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You're an actor and now you're a director too. And do you plan for the future other projects, or do you concentrate on your career as an actor?
I hope I get to do all sorts of things. You know, and I think that the boundaries and the lines between these different roles are sort of fading. That as the technology gets more advanced, people can do more and more things. You know, I was just in Austin, Texas, working for Robert Rodriguez, who's always been an idol of mine. And he does everything. It's so cool to watch him. He operates the camera and shoots, and he's like cutting at home, you know, and he scores the movie. And he has so much fun doing it, and his movies do have such a distinct voice, I think, because he's so involved in so many facets. He should act, actually, because he's actually a really good performer. I don't know if you guys, he did this commercial with Kobe Bryant that he acts in. It's excellent. I highly recommend you all watch it.
So you talked about being the director and an actor, and you told that the good thing about it is you have so much time for yourself, for your part, to develop your part. Can you tell a bit more about this and looking forward to do the next thing, working on this further?
Well, yeah, in writing the script for years, that's a lot more time that I get to spend in preparation, time that I get to spend thinking about the character than I normally get to when I'm acting in a movie. And so having so much preparation really did make the acting part come pretty easy.
The question way in the back on the right side, please.
Is it on? Hi, Willie Van Tagen. I'm a member of your hitrecord.org, and I got to say, being part of that community, it's really inspiring to have folks around and then seeing you up there and kind of that shine of hope for us. What sort of advice do you have for folks like me and the rest of the community that are trying to get there? What sort of advice do you have after going through this experience of directing your first feature film?
Yeah, well, thanks. First of all, I'm glad you're there, man. You know, my advice would be, it's funny that you bring up hit record, because even that name itself it's a complete sentence in the imperative tense. It's an action to do it, to push the button, get started. You know, I was actually, speaking of Robert, I was just talking with him about this. You can agonize forever about, well, I want to make something, but I don't know if I have the perfect idea, and I'm not sure if it's going to be really good, and maybe I should just not try. And I think I myself went through that plenty, because I've always wanted to make a feature film, and I've tried writing a bunch of different scripts and put them away and stopped. And this is the first one I really followed through on, and I'm very happy with the outcome. But is it perfect? Of course not. Nothing's ever perfect. And that's okay. You don't let that scare you away. You have to just go do it. And that's what we try to encourage on Hit Record, is just getting people to, you know, contribute, try something, see what other people make of it. And that would be my advice to anybody who wants to do something creative, whether you want to make a movie or write a book or be an actor or paint anything. You just have to do it. Don't wait for someone to tell you that you can. Don't wait for someone to hire you, or, you know, just go do it. You can nowadays. You know, the equipment's so much less expensive than it used to be. That would be my advice. Just, you know, go do it.
Your question, please, here in front.
Thank you. My name is Jutta Sarhima. I'm from Finland. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Could you tell us something about shooting of the film? How long did it take? What kind of practical or other kind of dilemmas did you face? And how did you anticipate them? How were you surprised? Thank you.
Let's see. Well, it was 24 shooting days in LA and then 3 in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. We shot on 35mm film, which is not to say that I'm against any other format. I'm just really happy that I got to do it before 35mm film goes away. And what can I say about You know, it's interesting. I was sort of mentioning this when I was talking about how Mr. Nolan was encouraging. We think of the director as a very kind of romantic, artistic role, and it is. You get to kind of dream something up and then make it into a movie. But what we don't talk about as much is there's just endless little detailed things like, oh, you want to shoot at that location? Too bad you can't. We can't park the trucks there. That kind of thing happens all day long. And you have to, while you're in the middle of trying to be in the moment and be creative, you're dealing with that stuff. And luckily, you know, I had a great producer who dealt with most of it for me. But, you know, you still, when you're an actor, you don't deal with any of that. You're just focused on playing your part. But as a director, you do have to deal with all that stuff. And, you know, I guess it just goes to show that if you want to do anything, you have to pay dues sometimes. You have to take the good with the bad and take the not so fun parts with the really fun parts. And I don't mind, because I just feel lucky to get to make a movie.
So we all take Joseph's advice. Just do it, and we are
That's
really
not what
happy
I say.
and
That's
really
Nike.
proud that you did it. We are
Thank
really
you.
happy to have you here on the festival, Don John's Addiction.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, Ram and Joseph, thanks for being here.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much.